the sun scorches the grasslands, where power once belonged only to the predator. But today, it has entered the wrong territory where prey no longer fear. As the buffalo herd closes in, will the king of the grasslands still hold the throne? Masai Mara, buffaloes ambush the lions. The power reversal. Masai Mara, a land where life is measured in sweat, blood, and dust. When the rainy season ends, the Mara River dries up, leaving muddy pits where many creatures seek out their final resting place. Here, lions are the rulers, the image of power and cold-bloodedness. When the rainy season ends, the land cracks open, and the Mara River is nothing more than shallow mud streaks in the midst of blazing gold. Grass withers, water is scarce, and every creature here is entering the most fierce period of the year, the season of hunger and survival. In the middle of that scorched land, Reno, the alpha male lion, stood tall in the parched landscape. His mane was dark and drooped like streaks of half-burned fire. Each scar on his body was a mark of power, something he had paid for in blood and loneliness. As the leader of the pride, Reno was not only a symbol of strength, he was the center of the entire chain of survival. A lion leader had to hunt enough to feed the group, protect the territory, and maintain the bloodline. But when prey was scarce, the title of ruler became a burden. African buffalo are creatures of strength and solidarity. Weighing nearly a ton, their horns curved like scythes, their herd structure operated as a unified block. Each male protected the outer edge, the female surrounded the young in the middle, forming a steel circle. The herd was led by an individual of age, memory, and courage. Kano, an old male, with shiny black horns and eyes that had seen death too many times to be afraid. On his back, gray scars stretched across his shoulders, like a map carved with claws and fangs. Kano had escaped Reno 3 times. Each time, he grew stronger. More stubborn, Buffaloes are not fast, but they are durable. They are not ferocious, but when cornered, they become a storm that no one wants to confront. One quiet morning, Rengo approached the shallow water alone. The smell of dry grass mixed with the smell of meat, a sign that prey was near. With few options left, desperation began to creep into his instincts. Ahead, a young calf lost its mother. The lion lowered itself, its eyes focused, and advanced step by step. The air was so thick and quiet that you could hear its heartbeat. And then, in the blink of an eye, it charged. Sand and dust flew, and the calf fell. But from afar, a deep sound rang out. Kano's roar. A signal that made the pride turn. The sound of hooves pounding the ground sounded like war drums. The air thickened. Hundreds of giant creatures, moving like a wall of steel, rumbled across the grassland. Each stomp cracked the ground. Each breath was a wave of hot wind blowing against Rengo's face. Kano charged forward, a blow as heavy as a hammer. Rengo fell back. The black storm was coming, not of wind, but of hundreds of giant creatures. The herd stopped at the edge, their dark eyes staring down. Kano stood in the middle, breathing heavily. In that moment, Rengo was no longer the ruler, but just a small creature fighting for its life. It turned, crawled through the mud, and disappeared into the thick reeds. Above, the herd was silent. No chase. They had protected the herd. That was enough. On this step, no one had the right to violate another's boundaries. And sometimes, it was the despised prey that kept the land in order. The afternoon fell on the Masai Mara plains. The sun was slanting, dyeing the dusty sky red. On the shallow slope where the Mara River once flowed, Rengo trudged back. His body was bleeding, a thick layer of dried mud stuck to his fur. Each step was a deep stab to his body, but his eyes were still burning. There was no fear in them, only shame and wounded pride. When Rengo returned, the pride was waiting. Three females lay sprawled on the grass, their golden eyes turned towards him. There was no greeting, no pouncing, just the heavy silence of a species that lives by instinct. In the world of lions, strength determines everything, including affection and reproductive rights. In the middle of the pride, 4 lion cubs were playing. The small, clumsy golden furs bit each other in the afternoon sun. They were the result of past rains, the crystallization of life that Rengo had protected with his blood. Every alpha male was born to pass on his blood. But for the cubs to grow, he had to hold the territory, protect the females, and drive away any rivals. If another male took over the pride, the cubs would be the first to die. It was the cold law of nature. Only the blood of the victor was allowed to survive. A female, Suri, the largest of the pride, approached. She licked Rengo's wounded flank, a gesture that was both comforting and reminding. We still need you. The females in a pride of lions do not just hunt. They are the source of reproduction, the continuation of the bloodline. And they only mate with the strongest, the one who can hold the territory and protect the cubs. Rengo understood that better than anyone. The rain poured harder. Against the roaring sound of thunder, Rengo stood up. The wound had dried, but in his eyes, another fire had just been lit. Not that of a ruler, but of a father. The afternoon light was fading, the rain had just stopped. Rengo was not alone. From behind, the lionesses appeared together. They did not need words. Instinct understood. They would hunt again. Not for hunger, not for fame, but for the survival of the bloodline. In the distance, Kano's buffalo herd was sheltering under the shade of a tree. The giant black mass stood still, breathing heavily. Kano's horns were raised high, his eyes still bright, his body heavy with scars that had not yet healed. The lions saw. And instinct made them not retreat anymore. Kano did not realize the whole lion pride was approaching. The kick was like lightning. The bite hit the neck. The roar resounded. But Kano stood firm, charging back against those who had surrounded him, the earth exploding under his hooves. Rengo roared loudly, as if to say to the entire grassland, "I am still here, and this blood has not ended." A crazy symphony of life. Kano was the smartest and most reckless. Even without the herd beside him, he still did not retreat. On his heavy body, each old scar bled again. Kano stood alone in the middle of the field, like a living fortress. At that moment, neither the lion nor the buffalo were predators or prey, just two creatures facing off to protect the strength and dignity of the herd. Masai Mara returned to silence. The sun was high, casting streaks of golden light. On this grassland, there is no eternal king. There are only those who know how to stand up, know how to wait, and know how to obey the laws of nature. And when the wind blew across the golden field, it seemed that Rengo's roar still echoed somewhere as an acknowledgement that it is not the strongest who rule, but the last who survive to pass on life. Masai Mara. After the short rains at the end of the season, the plains begin to revive. The dry grass stalks from the thirsty season now sprout new shoots. Softer and sweeter. No longer the smell of blood or dust, but the cool, moist smell of new soil. The steppe enters its reproductive cycle again, the season of life and instinct. On the eastern edge of the land once reddened by Kano's battle with the lions, the buffalo herd has returned to peace. They stand close together, their breath puffing out thin smoke in the early morning. This season, the males are more alert and ferocious than ever. Their shiny black horns are polished with earth and water. Their eyes are red with surging hormones. They roar and butt each other, as if to assert, "I am the one strong enough to pass on the blood." The females are heavy, their bellies bulging. Their bodies produce a distinctive pheromone scent, a signal that drives the males crazy. For buffalo, reproduction is a trade-off between the hope of being born and the risk of becoming prey for the hunter. In the herd, old Kano still exists. His horns are chipped, his left leg is limp, but his eyes are still bright. When the calves are born, small, shaky, black lumps of fur stand up after the first fall to the ground. Each of their first steps is a test of survival. The young buffalo learn to stand in less than 5 minutes, and in 10, they must run because the hunters are waiting. A new chapter of life begins, right on the land that has been marked by the battle between ruler and prey. Both the young wildebeest and the young buffalo are prey to the predators, lions, hyenas, and leopards. While Kano's buffalo patiently guard each calf, in the distance, the wildebeest herds are having their own breeding season. A sea of dark brown bodies stretches to the horizon, thousands of females moving slowly across the wet grasslands. The males, fueled by hormones, charge at each other with fierce butts. The dust rises like smoke from a battlefield and then returns to silence. But nowhere on the steppe stays peaceful for too long. The winds from the south carry moisture and the scent of water, signaling the coming migration season. As the northern grasslands began to turn yellow, the wildebeest, zebra, and buffalo set out again on a giant journey, the endless cycle of life. Masai Mara, morning after the rain. The last clouds had cleared, revealing a clear sky, reflected in the puddles that covered the plains. New grass had begun to emerge from the old cracked earth, the first sign of a new season. Kano walked slowly behind the herd, like a shadow of the past. Each step he took left deep tracks in the wet mud, traces that only time could erase. In that moment, Kano's aged eyes reflected the image of Rengo, the lion who had nearly taken everything, but also reminded him that only by fighting could he continue to live. Masai Mara, morning after the rain. The last clouds had cleared, revealing a clear sky, reflected in the puddles that covered the plains. New grass had begun to emerge from the old cracked earth, the first sign of a new season. Kano stood in the middle of the herd, mud still clinging to his horns, breathing heavily but evenly. In the distance, Rengo had disappeared behind a strip of tall grass. Only the lion's paw prints on the wet ground remained. No one knew if the two creatures would ever meet again, or if one day they would confront each other, not because of instinct, but because of the next generations carrying their blood. In nature, all stories are only paused, never ended. The sun rose, golden light pouring down on the savanna. The herd of wildebeest followed each other across the shallow water, forming endless bands of movement. Further away, in the thick bushes, another figure stirred, this season's new predator, waiting for its moment. The Masai Mara returns to its eternal rhythm. The predators, the fugitives, and those simply surviving another day. The circle of life continues to turn, and Rengo and Kano's story is just a small part of the eternal symphony of this earth and sky. In the sky above Masai Mara, migratory birds draw faint curves in the morning sun. On the ground, life continues, as if no tragedy has ever happened. In this place, there is no eternal victory. Only those who know how to stand up after each wound. Tomorrow, Rengo may face another hunter, or Kano may have to fight against an animal he has never known. But that is the law of nature, where no one truly dominates, but only temporarily holds a position in the endless cycle of life. The story of Rengo and Kano ends, but the journey of nature continues. What do you think, if the next battle is no longer between buffalo and lion, but between the new ruler and the rising one? Please comment below. Follow the channel to explore the next chapter of the savanna with us, where every creature writes its own destiny.
Where every trace is erased by the wind. When the shadows of predators appear together, the silence becomes a sign of the storm. No warning, no escape. The battle for survival is quietly erupting. The unforgiving Kalahari, the fierce battle for survival. The Kalahari Desert, a land not just of sand, but a silent symphony of sun, wind and life, fighting every hour. Spreading over 900,000 kilometers across Namibia, Botswana and South Africa, this place does not have the giant sand dunes of the Sahara, but is no less harsh. with long dry seasons, extreme temperature fluctuations, and suffocatingly scarce water. At first glance, the Kalahari looks like a desolate land. Cracked grasslands, low bushes, not a single person. But hidden deep in that silence is a world in motion. Under the blazing sun pouring down on each grain of hot sand, a proud figure appears on the edge of the grassland. Kalahari lions. A living symbol of strength and adaptability in one of the harshest regions of Africa. They have a large stature, long legs, and a compact body suitable for moving long distances over hot and dry, sandy terrain. Their fur is often lighter in color than their grassland relatives, which can be pale yellow mixed with ash or tan, helping to camouflage better in the burnt earth of the Kalahari. Males stand out with a sparse mane, not too thick, sometimes with a characteristic black color, creating a majestic but not heavy look, helping to cool down better under the scorching sun. They live in small herds, usually only 3 to 6 individuals. They have the habit of hunting at night or at dawn, when the desert is less harsh. They can go hungry for many days, moving dozens of kilometers to find a source of life. The main prey of the Kalahari lion includes wildebeest, gemsbok, zebra, and occasionally wild pigs or small animals such as steenbok. But in this barren land, prey is not abundant. They have to move constantly to find water and shade, making each hunt a gamble of life and death. In the distance, under the early morning light, a few gemsbok appear. Gemsbok, the proud symbol of the Kalahari Desert. They are one of the most difficult prey to conquer. Possessing a large body, rippling muscles, nearly 1.2 meters high at the shoulder, and weighing up to 200 kilograms. The entire body is covered with silver-grey fur with prominent black streaks running along the sides of the body, neck and face, like a beautiful and majestic camouflage. But the most fearsome weapon is the pair of long, straight horns, sharp as spears, which can pierce the enemy during defense. They live in herds of 10 to 30, with a clear order and always alert. When they sense danger, they immediately gather together. The adults will spread out to form an outer protective layer, shielding the young in the middle. The first rays of the morning sun have just touched the red sand, drawing soft streaks of light on the dry, cracked ground. At the edge of a shallow pool, a few gemsbok antelopes leisurely bow their heads to drink, their strong bodies covered in the pale yellow light of dawn. The air seems peaceful, with only the sound of the wind and the sound of the water gently stirring the lake surface. but not far away, a shadow is motionless. The lion's dark yellow eyes quietly observe. And now the prey is off guard. The opportunity has begun to ripen. The lioness slowly approaches. The air seems to stop, dry and hot. Suddenly, the lioness rushes forward. The bite is precise, holding the antelope's neck tightly. It cannot resist. In a few minutes, the hunt ended abruptly. And the lion carried the antelope back to its pride. When the feast was over, the lions rested. The sun was high in the sky, casting its harsh rays on the scorching sand. Far away, from the edge of the horizon, a hunched figure. Under the scorching sun, a mysterious and silent creature moved across the arid land. The brown hyena, the silent survivor of the African savanna. They have long, shaggy, dark brown fur, sometimes tinged with grey or reddish brown, which helps them blend in easily with the sand and bushes. Their bodies are not as massive as those of lions or leopards, but are muscular and perfectly adapted to nocturnal life. They are about 80 centimeters tall, weigh between 40 and 55 kgs, with large erect ears, a long muzzle, and longer forelegs than hind legs, creating a characteristic crouching gait. Along the back is a prominent shaggy mane. They live alone or in small, loosely organized groups. Unlike spotted hyenas, which have large herds and are highly social, this species prefers seclusion and rarely causes disturbances. They roar little, are not noisy, and move quietly in the dark. However, each individual knows exactly where the others are in the area, thanks to their characteristic hissing or scent marks. Brown hyenas breed all year round, but usually peak at the end of the rainy season. Females will give birth to 1 to 3 cubs after about 90 days of gestation. The cubs are born with fur, open their eyes early, and are breastfed for several weeks before learning to hunt and find carcasses with their mothers. They are experts at cleaning up the ecosystem, scavenging for carcasses left behind after hunts. Not only eating carcasses, they are also ready to hunt small prey such as rodents, lizards, birds, insects, or even fallen fruit if necessary. The flexibility in their diet helps the brown hyena survive the harsh dry season. Thanks to its ability to navigate and remember scents, the hyena may have tracked the carcass from kilometers away. The lions were alert. They lay still and waited. The brown hyena was approaching slowly, without hesitation. Perhaps because it was approaching the prey, it had let its guard down. The surrounding air was silent, filled with tension. The brown hyena raised its head. Its eyes changed color. It had trespassed where it should not have been. As soon as the hyena turned to run, in a split second, the lions charged. The chase was intense, only a few minutes. The lion stopped by the field. It was not hungry, but the presence of the hyena, even for a moment, was enough to awaken its dominant instinct. In this land, every encounter was not a fight. It was a reminder of the boundaries of power, who was allowed to stay and who was forced to disappear. The Kalahari Desert, seemingly arid and motionless. In fact, it was a strange rhythm of life of the earth and sky. The dry season lasted almost all year round. In the sweltering heat and the flying sand, the lions did not mate according to a fixed season, but the rainy months were the most favorable time. Only when the rains had receded and the ground returned to its familiar red color, the lions raised the next generation together amidst the challenges of this unforgiving desert. But the Kalahari was more than just empty savanna and fiery sand dunes. In some places where the terrain is lower, thick bushes grow and rows of thorny acacia trees create interwoven shade. This is the favorite territory of a formidable small hunter, the caracal. At first glance, it is not too outstanding. Its body is slim, about 40 to 50 centimeters tall, and its average weight is from 8 to 18 kilos. But what makes it different is its erect ears, the tips of which are raised high with long black hairs like two flames. The caracal is a master of silence. It moves like a ghost among the bushes, rarely leaving a trace. They have the amazing ability to hunt by jumping straight into the air. With jumps of up to 3 meters, the caracal can pounce on flying birds or suddenly kill rabbits, quail and ground squirrels from a distance that no other cat can do. No traps, no long pursuit. With just one precise leap, the prey disappears in perfect silence. But the caracal is not the only predator lurking in the dry forests of the Kalahari. The African spotted lynx. This cat has a golden coat studded with black spots, like a miniature version of the cheetah. Its body is slender, but its legs are unusually long compared to its size. Its large, round, upright ears act like bioradar, constantly rotating to catch the slightest vibrations under the thick grass. It is a solitary and extremely sensitive predator. It usually hunts at dusk or dawn. The moment when darkness and light intersect, making its shape almost disappear in space. With long legs and lightning leaps that can reach up to 3 meters, it easily pounces on prey at a distance that the prey has not yet reacted to. In the dry fringes of the forest and the desert, the late afternoon sunlight spreads like red silk ribbons across the cracked ground. An African spotted lynx, spotted jungle cat, quietly crosses the sparse grass, its erect ears catching the slightest sound. It is hunting, its gait graceful, each step as light as the wind. But this time, the noise does not come from a mouse or a small bird. A fleeting movement in the grass, long and wavy. The spotted lynx stops. Its yellow eyes narrow. It is a snake. The spotted lynx lowered its body, approaching step by step, completely silent. But then the snake suddenly jumped up, fast as lightning, its jaws wide open, aiming straight at the stranger's face. In a split second, the spotted lynx retreated, leaping into the air with an instinctive, precise leap, narrowly avoiding the attack. Everything fell silent, only dust hovering between the two creatures. One hunted with grace, the other defended with deadly speed. This was no longer a simple hunt. It was a lesson. In the wild, any encounter could become a fight to the death. In the dry season, when hot winds blew across the yellow grass and the ground cracked underfoot, the African spotted lynx's breeding season began. Although they live almost their entire lives alone, during the mating season, males will cross large territories to follow the pheromone trail left by the females. There are no grand courtship displays, just soft calls and discreet body rubs in the bushes. After mating, the males leave immediately, without attachment or protection. All responsibility is left to the females. About 70 to 80 days later, in a shady bush or abandoned tree hollow, the female lynx gives birth to 1 to 4 kittens. They have fine fur and unclear spots. For the first few weeks, the kittens are completely dependent on their mother for both food and protection. The mother cat moves the nest frequently to avoid predators, and at the same time begins to teach her kittens how to hide, listen, and wait for prey. As the sun begins to set, dyeing the Kalahari Desert red, the wind swirls through the low thorn bushes, carrying with it dust and chaotic sounds. Elsewhere, not far from the edge of the forest, a pack of African wild dogs is gathering in the pale orange light of dusk. They are preparing for a crucial hunt. African wild dogs, the most organized predators on the continent. They have a distinctive appearance that is hard to mistake. Their bodies are slim, their legs are long, their large round ears are always erect to pick up sounds from afar. Their fur is mottled in 3 colors: yellow, brown, black and white. No 2 dogs are alike, like nature's unique fingerprints. Their agile and resilient running style helps them cross the savanna without losing momentum. They live in packs of 6 to more than 20 individuals, closely bonded by howling, face-licking and clear social rituals. There is no fierce power struggle. Each pack usually has only 1 breeding pair, protected and supported by the whole pack. This is one of the few predators that shows a clear spirit of cooperation, not only in hunting, but also in raising young. When a member is injured, the pack slows down, hunting more to share the spoils. The breeding season usually takes place at the end of the rainy season, when prey is abundant and food sources are abundant. After about 70 days of pregnancy, the female dog gives birth to 6 to 16 young in deep caves or rock crevices. During the first weeks, the whole pack takes turns guarding, hunting and feeding the mother and her young. This coordination and sacrifice is the key to the rare high survival rate in the wild. And thanks to that, in a harsh environment like the Kalahari, wild dogs not only survive, they become a symbol of survival strategies using collective intelligence. As the sun rose and heat began to rise from the scorched earth, the mottled shadows began to move more quickly. The pack of African wild dogs left their resting area. Far ahead, in the cracked ground dotted with thorn trees, a herd of buffalo grazed leisurely. The adults stood guarding their cubs in the middle. Occasionally they glanced around but saw nothing unusual. The wind was light. The sunlight stretched along the dusty strips, creating a perfect screen for the hunters who were quietly approaching. From a distance, the pack of African wild dogs slowly approached. Their slim bodies and mottled fur helped them almost disappear into the sun-dappled terrain. There was no sound except for their slow, steady breathing. Each move was a tactical calculation. The leader's eyes were as sharp as a knife. They rushed at terrifying speed, aiming straight at the young individuals behind the herd. The herd panicked and scattered. But it was too late. One strayed from the protective circle. Just a few seconds later, it was knocked down. The hunt ended in a brief chaos. Quick and ruthless, like an instinct honed over thousands of years. Under the scorching sun of the desert, life and death are always decided in a few breaths. On a land that seems to be full of sand and sun, Kalahari is a place where life is constantly reborn. From the dominant hunters like lions, the silent warriors like brown hyenas, to the persistent hunters like African wild dogs, and even the small but mysterious figures like wild cats. All are pieces of a symphony of survival, where there is no room for weakness. Here, every step could be your last. Every hunt is a gamble. And every individual's survival is the result of instincts honed over thousands of years of evolution. The Kalahari is unforgiving. That's why this land deserves to be heard, understood, and protected. If you love the wild, subscribe to our channel and share our videos so you can join us on our next journeys. Because somewhere, in the dust and darkness, a new story of survival is beginning.